Craig, Don, Jules, good to have you with us. Don, I'll start with you. That was pretty much one-way traffic for Bayer Leverkusen, and Kai Havertz was pretty much running that one-way traffic.
Do you know what, Seb? There's certain players, when you watch them, you just know they are too good for the club that they're playing for. He was head and shoulders above everyone else on the pitch, not just his goals, but his vision, his touch. He was very, very good. I mean, this is a Leverkusen side under Peter Bosch that are bringing some fantastic young players in. I mean, Florian Wirtz, who played on the right-hand side, he was only 17. Leon Bailey coming through. Paulinho only at 19. But the diamond, the jewel in the crown, has to be Kai Havertz. He's a sensational talent.
Jules, how close do you think Havertz is to that big move? Linked to some pretty big clubs. Most recently, Liverpool seems to be getting a lot of run.
I think before the pandemic, we would all have said that it would happen this summer. Now that the situation is what it is right now and clubs won't have as much money as they would have had before the pandemic, I wonder what's going to happen to Kai Havertz, simply because you would think a player like him, at his age, with the talent that he is, and like Don said, he's incredible talent, really, that can play in so many positions as well on your pitch. You would expect easily 100 million euros for that. But who can really afford that right now? Even not Bayern Munich. Or maybe Bayern have the money, but would they go for that this summer right now with everything that's been happening? I'm not so sure. Does that mean that he will have to stay another year and then maybe the following summer he'll be able to get the big move that really he wants and deserves as well, and I'm sure looking forward to as well, because he's far too good for Leverkusen? Or maybe he will have to go at a lower price and that Leverkusen will have to cut the losses and say, you know what? Yes, we said to him that he could leave in the summer 2020. That was all before everything that's happened. So we will have to let him go, and maybe that would just be 50 or 60 million euros.
Craig, specifically Liverpool, do you think Havertz would be a good fit?
I think he'd be a good fit wherever he would go, and I think Bayern Munich would be looking for a player like that as well. Predominantly because, for the reason Don mentioned, he can play in so many different positions. He's got so many strings to his bow. Today he was the front man for Bayer Leverkusen, but we know he can play in behind. We know he can play deeper. We know he can play wide if so need be. Look at the goals he scored today in terms of the headers. That physicality as well as the talent would be a great asset for any club. If you look at that Liverpool front three, it's not the most physical. Yes, Roberto Firmino will get his share of headed goals, but really he's not a big threat in there. Neither are Sadio Mane or Mo Salah, for obvious reasons. So he would bring so many different things to that Liverpool side, apart from the vision, apart from the talent. You saw today his physicality, albeit against a Werder Bremen side that have really struggled from set pieces. The marking was poor, but he took full advantage. And yeah, as Jules said, it may have to be another year at Bayer Leverkusen, like an Erling Haaland at Dortmund. He makes the right move to the right club to get that game time to progress. And it may be that he has to sit tight for a year to 18 months until that right move and the right money for Leverkusen comes along.
Don, Michael Ballack has suggested that he should stay, Havertz, at Leverkusen for another year. Based on what you said just a few minutes ago, I'm guessing you disagree.
Well, I do disagree, but in uncertain times, like Jules said there's probably not a lot of teams that could go and just spend £100 million cash on players. I think he's far too good for Leverkusen. There's stories running in the papers in the UK today that even Barcelona are trying to make a trade with 3 of their players. That's how highly they rate him. So I think he goes to the very biggest clubs in Europe, and I think he walks into most sides. He certainly obviously got to fight for his place, but the talent's there. It's 20 years of age. And, in the UK press today, they've said and they've mentioned Ballack, and he's a little bit of a clone of Ballack. I disagree. I think he's totally different. The one player I would liken him to is a taller, faster version than Mesut Ozil. I think he plays obviously off the left-hand side through the middle, as Craig said, but he's predominantly left-footed. He's very silky, easy on the eye. So again, yes, Liverpool will be a great fit, but even Barca rate him that highly. They are willing to trade 3 players for him.
Jules, it's his 4th full season, at the top flight level. How come you think we don't hear more of this kid, especially in terms of that elite class? When people talk about the Erling Haalands, the Jadon Sanchos, he doesn't seem to generate as much, at least press.
No, you're right, and it's maybe because Bayer Leverkusen haven't done as well in Europe than a Bayern Munich or Borussia Dortmund even this season, and also because last season he was 2 years ago he was fantastic, and really you could see, and he was only 18 at the time, going on to 19, and he was fantastic that season. And then last year I think he had a bit of a dip, probably because of the season he had 2 years ago, and he was not as good and not as prolific, and he had a bit of injuries as well, and he looked tired at times, and that was a bit more difficult. But this season he's back to his best, really. And I think maybe the lack of appreciation, especially outside of Germany, not so much in Germany, but I think outside is maybe because in Europe things so far hadn't really gone that well for him and for Leverkusen. However, in this year's Europa League, he's been fantastic so far. And whenever the Europa League goes back, I think you would have to watch for him and for Bayer Leverkusen in the rounds to come.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN+.